Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Joey. This Saturday is UFC Vegas 25, Jiri Prochazka versus Dominick Reyes, a fight I'm so excited for. This fight was originally scheduled for a couple months ago, late February. Dominick Reyes pulled out with an injury. I don't think we ever figured out what the injury was, and they decided to reschedule the fight for May 1st, which is this Saturday, UFC Vegas 25, and I'm so excited for this main event. So for most people, I don't think a lot of people are super familiar with Jiri Prochazka. He's only had one fight in the UFC against Volkan Ozdemir. He fought on the first event on Fight Island. I think it was UFC 251. It was the same card as Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal won. And if you don't know who Jiri Prochazka is, maybe you missed that fight because it was a prelim fight, go watch that fight right now because Jiri Prochazka is an absolute wild man. He fights with his hands so low. And at some points, I went back and rewatched that fight, just to be super familiar with it to do this prediction video. He is literally holding his hands together down by his groin and just bobbing and throwing shots back. He is just an absolute wild man. He fights chaotic. He has like a little bit of a showboating type style where he's trying to call the other guy in and maybe throw some shots and look for counters with head movement and whatnot. And he was pretty successful in the Volkan Ozdemir fight, but he did catch quite a few shots from Volkan Ozdemir, and he plays a very dangerous game. He has good head movement. He has decent footwork. He's constantly changing stances. He has vicious power. He knocked Volkan Ozdemir out in the second round, and it was just a violent knockout, brutal, just absolutely slap him. Crazy fight. Both guys landed their shots, but it's so hard for me to pick this fight. I've been debating who I'm going to pick, and I'm really high on Jiri Prochazka. I think he's a quality fighter. But those guys who just fight very dangerously and keep their hands so low, it is just a matter of time before the right guy just catches them and knocks them out. And, he just, he calls guys in. He's got his hands so low. It's an advantage at some points, because guys don't see, from the different angles the shots are coming from. Maybe they can't dodge them as well. He put Volkan Ozdemir out with some of those shots, but at the same time, he was eating some shots in that fight too. He could have easily got KO'd. He's really good at rolling with the shots, but it is a particularly dangerous style. And there could be, a scenario where I could see Dominick Reyes potentially knocking him out, but I don't think that's going to be my official prediction. I'm still kind of thinking of it in my head. I think I have an idea, but I'll go through some more of the details before I get my exact prediction. One thing that he does, Jiri Prochazka, he has a super wide stance. And one of Dominick Reyes' strengths is those leg kicks. So I think Dominick Reyes is going to come in and try to chop those legs heavy. We've seen what Dominick Reyes did in the Jon Jones fight, which that's another thing. It's so hard. For this fight, it's so hard to judge because I am a guy that not only looks at fights and what I perceive the skill level to be, but also their resume. And for either of these guys, Jiri Prochazka only has one fight in the UFC. One fight. That's it, against Volkan Ozdemir over the summer. With that being said, he's won 11 fights in a row. 9 of his last fights he's won by KO or TKO. But obviously the names on the resume aren't that good. He fought in Ryzen for a while. He beat Fabio Maldonado, CB Dalloway, Muhammad Law. But, none of those names are just anybody's. They're basically bums. That's a little bit of a, oversimplification, but basically fighting bums. But then you also have Dominick Reyes, who I've never been high on at all. And the names on his resume aren't very good either. He has a split decision win over Volkan Ozdemir, but I don't believe in MMA math, so you can't say, well, Jiri Prochazka knocked him out and Dominick Reyes only got a split decision. I don't believe in that, so you can throw that out the window. Dominick Reyes looked awful against OSP. Even though he won the fight, I thought he looked awful. I'm not super high on OSP, and that fight was just boring and terrible. He KO'd Chris Weidman, but Weidman has an absolute glass jaw. So Dominick Reyes' best performance was a loss against Jon Jones, and I know a lot of people thought he won that fight. I went back and rewatched that fight. I originally thought Jon Jones won and just barely won. And when I rewatched the fight, I came to the same conclusion. Jon Jones won, but just barely. It could have went either way. But that gets me to another point. I don't feel like you can judge a guy's skill set off of one fight, let alone one loss. And that's what a lot of people did off the Jon Jones loss. They seen what a performance he put on, which was a great performance. But, that was borderline an aberration. He goes out against Jan Blachowicz, who's a great quality fighter as well, and gets absolutely starched. So it's hard for me to judge Dominick Reyes' skill set because arguably his most impressive win was against Chris Weidman, that KO. That was Chris Weidman moving up to light heavyweight, and he KO'd him. It was a great performance, but Chris Weidman's the man of glass at this point. His jaw, he's been finished 5 out of his last 7 fights by KO or TKO. I'm not including the Uriah Hall fight, but that would be, oh my God, that would be 6 out of his last 8 fights he's been finished, and if you include the leg break from this past weekend. But it's hard for me to judge his skill set. And then on top of that, you look at Dominick Reyes' last few fights, and he constantly has nose problems. He broke his nose in Jan Blachowicz. He had nose issues in John Jones. I believe he had nose issues in the Volkan Ozdemir and OSP fight. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I vaguely remember that. And we've seen these guys, like you look back at Rory McDonald and other guys who have these nose issues, broken noses, maybe not giving them enough time to recover, and it just becomes a perpetual issue throughout their career. They get caught in it once, and they're done. They don't want to be in there anymore. It hurts them badly. It's just destroyed. They're breathing out of their mouth heavily. And that's, been a history of his, and it's just hard for me to pick a guy who has that history of injury, and then on top of that, he pulled out of the February fight with an injury. Who knows what that was? So that leads me to say I'm going to pick Jiri Prochazka by second round TKO, but I'm not super confident in that pick. That I feel I'm leaning that way, but I'm probably like 60% Jiri Prochazka, 40% Dominick Reyes. Dominick Reyes had that amazing performance against John Jones. That's what it was. But other than that, Jan Blachowicz fight, he looked terrible. He got absolutely destroyed in the Jan Blachowicz fight. He left the body kick open constantly, was constantly getting slapped to the body. His ribs were super red. He was getting beat up to the face. It is what it is, but that's his most recent fight. He was destroyed in it. It's hard, the recency bias on that is hard to overlook. And Jiri is just so dynamic. He's fast. He comes at from unique angles. And I think eventually he'll be able to land that knockout shot on Dominick Reyes and potentially TKO. I could see a path to victory for Dominick Reyes because he does have a high fight IQ. He comes in with a good game plan in each fight. I could see Jiri Prochazka has that very wide stance, and he is susceptible to leg kicks. And Dominick Reyes has some of the best low kicks in the light heavyweight division, and he throws them constantly. He was chopping John Jones' legs down badly in their fight, just trying to destroy John Jones' legs. He landed a couple good ones in the Jan Blachowicz fight as well. Reyes also has some great body kicks as well. So, I could see a path to victory for him, but I just think he's going to get busted up on the feet. I think overall, Jiri Prochazka is the better striker, and I think he's going to bust him up on the feet and probably break his nose in this fight again, and eventually get dropped, TKO'd, followed up, ground and pound. But if he comes out there, he's able to use his footwork because he does have good footwork as well. Use his footwork, chop Jiri Prochazka's legs, maybe get him to the deeper rounds. We've seen Dominick Reyes has been able to, he has the stamina to kind of go 5 rounds. He went 5 rounds with John Jones in the first fight. He faded a little bit towards them 4th and 5th round. John Jones clearly won those rounds, but he's able to go 5 rounds. He's shown it in the past, but I just really don't think it's gonna make it that far. Jiri Prochazka is just an absolute animal. He has a chin on him. He's on a huge win streak. And I just think he's going to come in super confident. Hopefully he doesn't get too careless because I think he got very careless in that Volkan Ozdemir fight back at UFC 251. I like the style. It's very entertaining for me to watch a guy who just has his hands very low, trying to use his head movement to avoid shots. But, man, it's very, very careless. And Dominick Reyes has some decently fast hands too. But I think Jiri will be able, Dominick Reyes will land his own shots, but I think Jiri will roll with the punches very well. He's shown that, showed it in the Volkan Ozdemir fight. But also, again, I have to say, it's hard to judge Jiri Prochazka based off of the names that he's fought. He hasn't fought a, list of great guys. He fought Volkan Ozdemir, who's a great fighter. Don't get me wrong, I'm very high on Volkan Ozdemir, even though he's lost, plenty of fights, lost to Anthony Smith, lost to Dominick Reyes, and lost to Jiri Prochazka, but he's a great fighter, great striker. But that's it. that's his one fight in the UFC, and the rest of them were outside the UFC against guys who are just, C fighters, C-list fighters, B-list fighters. They're not the elite of the elite of the light heavyweight division, and the light heavyweight division is getting better, as we go. And Dominick Reyes is like that new breed of guy who's super athletic, super strong. I don't think wrestling will really play a factor into this fight unless maybe Dominick Reyes is getting beat up badly on the feet and he tries to take it to the ground. But I don't know that Jiri's that's a huge weakness of his either. I don't have enough knowledge. I don't have enough evidence of that to say that. But I just think it's mainly going to be contested on the feet. I think it's going to be Dominick Reyes picking his shots, chopping the legs, looking for the opening of a big power shot. I think it's going to be Jiri showboating him, calling him in, trying to counter him, using head movement, and trying to land that big knockout shot. And he has some nasty power. Again, if you have not seen it yet, go look up that Jiri Prochazka Volkan Ozdemir fight from last summer. I think it's on ESPN Plus or whatever. You can probably find it on Fight Pass too. It was a great fight, and I hope, for the fan excitement, it would be fun. But I hope that Jiri does not get that, wild in this fight. I hope he gets wild, but not that wild, because if he gets too crazy, he can get caught on the chin or get kicked with a head kick, because Dominick Reyes also has lightning fast head kicks, and he could get put to sleep. But I think that pretty much covers most of this fight. I mean, it's so hard really to talk about these guys. Jiri Prochazka has 27 wins, 24 of those are knockouts. Jiri Prochazka has the reach advantage, 3-inch reach advantage, so I think he'll be able to use that to his advantage. It's not like it's just a 1-inch. It's a decent reach advantage. Be able to use the jab on Dominick Reyes, and if he hits him with a couple stiff jabs, that nose is going to give out for sure. I mean, he just has a history of a broken nose, and we've seen it time and time again. These guys who get these nose injuries just can never recover from it. It's just a problem for their entire career afterwards, which is truly sad, especially the way Dominick Reyes, people were really buying his stock after that John Jones fight. But that's his last 2 fights. He's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak. John Jones and Jan Blachowicz. So you got Jiri Prochazka coming in on an 11-fight win streak. Again, only one of those in the UFC. And you have Dominick Reyes coming in on a 2-fight losing streak. I would have preferred the ideal fight for me, and I get why the UFC didn't do it, but the ideal fight for me, and I was really hoping the UFC would make, was Jiri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. I think that was 2 of the young, up-and-coming light heavyweight fighters, and I really wanted to see them matched up against each other. I think that would have been a super fun matchup. So maybe, Rakic says he wants to wait on a title shot, but I don't think that's going to happen. We know Glover Teixeira is getting the next shot. He just beat Thiago Santos, not too long ago. Maybe if Jiri Prochazka gets out of this fight, wins against Dominick Reyes, we can match Jiri Prochazka up with Alexander Rakic next. But you never know. With Dominick Reyes, the way he's looked, in some of his fights, if we see the Dominick Reyes that comes out and really tries to push the pace, throws nasty combinations, really chops the leg kicks hard and often, throws nasty head kicks, fast head kicks, we could see him get the win, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Jiri's is just the overall better striker, and he's going to chew him up on the feet, break his nose, drop him, TKO him. I don't think he's going to put him out cold, but he's going to get the TKO. I think I said second round TKO. And for this Saturday, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm probably going to do a live fight stream. I'll get on here and watch the fights with you guys. I did that last week for the Anthony Pettis fight, and it was pretty fun with a couple of you. So make sure you like this video. Comment down below and let me know your prediction for this main event. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.